Okay, so I got comments on my previous videos saying that a lot of the creepypastas, namely the Loud House Enough is Enough story, have already been covered quite a bit by other YouTubers. So in order to try to decrease my level of unoriginality by at least a little bit, from now on I'm going to try to search up these stories before I read them to make sure they haven't been covered by a whole bunch of other people beforehand, just to make sure that I'm not retreading old territory. Because, that's not really fun just to hear the same stories again and again. I kind of want to... Part of the reason why I came to these sites is because I thought, oh, these are probably some stories that don't really get heard that often. And I guess I should have expected that I wasn't going to be the first one to come here. But, we're going to try to at least be a little bit more original from here on out. And we're going to start off with this story. Laughing Spongebob. And I checked. I don't think anyone's read this. I could be wrong, but I didn't see any videos that popped up right away. So, I'm going to be honest. I only clicked on this video because of the picture. It was in the new images thing on the side of the screen. I was originally going to start off with a different story, but how could you ignore this? It's SpongeBob with Chinese text on his face. I was expecting to type this into Google Translate and have it be super idle or something like that, but I did translate it, and it seems like it says something along the lines of "it really hurts" or "true pain," which is very poetic. And for clarification, I have already read this story. Not in a previous video, but a few minutes ago. I recorded the entire story, and then I tried playing it back, and there was no audio, and I was like, oh crap, I must not have had my microphone set up. So I deleted that. I deleted that recording, and then I come back, I'm like, oh, wait a second. Because my computer does this weird thing where whenever I plug in my microphone, it wants to play audio out of my microphone, and it can't do that because it's a microphone. And so it was trying to play the video's audio out of my microphone, and that wasn't working. So I assumed there's something was broken, so I deleted it, so now I have to redo it, but whatever. Let's just jump right into this. Laughing SpongeBob. Hi, I want to begin by saying I'm very big SpongeBob fan, and one day I was at Garage Sale, and I found an old SpongeBob DVD. It was season 6. I was very happy. I found this since I didn't have the season. I bought the DVD for $3. When I got home, I opened the DVD case and spent hours watching all my favorite episodes. After finishing the last episode, I found there was one disc left. However, it didn't have any SpongeBob art on it. It was simply a white disc. I put in my DVD. He didn't put it in a DVD player. He put it in a DVD. He put a DVD inside of a different DVD, which is very impressive, actually. I gotta give the author props on that. That's very cool. And it took me to a main menu with a completely white background. I clicked start and the intro started. However, there was no audio besides a slowed down version of the SpongeBob theme song. The intro itself was also slowed downed, and SpongeBob didn't play flute on his nose. It simply cut to the title card. However, there wasn't any text in the title card, and sad music was playing in the background. The episode then began with SpongeBob standing in a corner in his bedroom. He was shaking and making weird grunting noises, and a static sound was heard. It did this for about 10 seconds before it cut to the Krusty Krab. SpongeBob was walking towards the door, but walking with his head down, and looked sad. He went into the Krusty Krab and went into the kitchen, but instead of starting to make Krabby Patties, he began to grind against the grill with his spatula. The static sound began again, but much louder, and SpongeBob was making grunting noises again, but this time like he was in pain. Mr. Krabs then comes in and began yelling at him, asking him what the hell he was doing. However, SpongeBob didn't reply, and the static noise began to get louder, then cut to black before showing SpongeBob with no face and Chinsei text. And then we see SpongeBob sitting, shaking. A soft laugh was heard from him, but it soon got louder and louder. The laugh didn't sound like SpongeBob's normal laugh, but it sounded more demented. The static noise began to get even louder and then cut to a close-up of SpongeBob's face. He had no pupils and was very dark. The episode then ended. I wonder why Nickelodeon would ever make something like this, but some questions may never be answered. And I got a comment on something really impressive about this story, is the fact, you might have noticed it by the way I was reading, this entire thing is one sentence. And some people, there's that trend of 2-sentence horror stories, and those are pretty cool, but I think you really have to give this author credit for conveying this entire story about SpongeBob going through this, him deciding he doesn't like his work, or I don't know what the hell. But he conveyed this entire story in one sentence, and that's very impressive. So I think we gotta give the author some props. So let's check the comments and see if other people appreciate this form of art. Here's a comment from my new account 21323, and they simply say, "Sponge." I think I feel that. It's also a really brilliant artistic way of conveying their emotions. I really appreciate that. So now that that's out of the way, we got that brilliant story done. Let's move on to something else. This is a different story, and I checked this one too. I don't think anyone has read this one. This was the first one I was going to read before I saw Chinese Spongebob. This one is Blue's Clues, Hell Blue. I don't think anyone's read this. It looks pretty interesting, actually, so let's just jump right into it. Hey, my name is Eric Claude. I work at a gas station as a cashier. McDonald's is my favorite fast food. I have a friend at work named Dyson Bennett. Me and him are, conveniently, neighbors. That means we get to talk to each other before and after work. And today he told me that his new employee, his name is Frederick. Apparently he's kind of weird. Sometimes he says some random things which make me very uncomfortable, to say the least. Fire is a multi-purpose tool. It can be used for cooking, warmth, and even as a weapon. I guess I'm just going full Midwestern with this character. If blood was clear, cannibals could get away with crimes much more than usual. I don't think that's the case, but whatever. If the story didn't clarify Rudolph was a reindeer, it would have probably sounded like he was a demon. Would it have? Would it have? I don't think it would have. What if you died in a warehouse? Stuff like that. Okay, I'm going to be honest. I've had much weirder things happen. Okay, there was this one, story time. A little bit of a break on this. I used to live in the dorm at my college. Right now, I just kind of live at home and commute from here. But I used to live at the dorm, and I used to spend a lot of my time in the basement. Like when I'd get back from my classes, I'd like go in the basement of the dorm, and I would like watch YouTube videos and stuff like that. And I usually stay up pretty late, and I usually get back to my place around like midnight or something, and then I'd go to bed then. And so it was like, it was around midnight. It was like very close to midnight, and the place was pretty dark. It had like motion sensor lights, and no one had been there for a while. And this guy comes in, and I think I've talked to this guy before. And he sits down, and he starts talking to me about Jesus, which, I mean, alone is kind of weird just to walk up to someone and start talking like that. But specifically, he started saying like, oh, I grew up on a farm, and I saw death at a very young age. And stuff about like how like Jesus can forgive anything, even murder, and how that's so amazing how you can kill someone and Jesus will still forgive you for it. And nothing came from it. I think he seems like a pretty genuine guy, but it's like that was the weird. I think that was like one of the weirdest things that's ever happened, because I was in a dark basement around midnight, and this guy came up to me and started saying how like murder can be forgiven by Jesus if you ask him for forgiveness. And I'm like, I'm gonna die here, aren't I? I'm gonna lose all my skin tonight, but I made it out. So I think this guy just saying like Rudolph sounds like a demon. It's not really that weird. It's not that weird. Anyways, back to the story. Enough of that tangent. Stuff like that. But sometimes we would find him standing in the corner. When we would turn him around, his face showed nothing but abject horror. Shortly after, he would dash out of the room with impressive speed while freaking the hell out. Okay, I guess that's pretty weird. We were very worried about him, to be honest, but his job application didn't show any signs of mental disorder, not even a tragedy that could have impacted him. Some of us speculated that he may have had extreme paranoia, but we could never find out a reason why. It's simply all we could think of. He does this thing sometimes. He sometimes acts like how you would imagine a hostage pretending everything is fine would act, and sometimes says he wants to find his sister who was missing. But in other occurrences, he does the opposite. He sometimes acts like how a sketchy kidnapper or criminal would act, openly talking about it. Sometimes he said he will never find her. What the fuck does this have to do with Blue's Clues? We were spooked, obviously, so he bring box cutters in case he tries anything. Your first instinct is to stab him? Sure, okay, sure. Okay, but eventually we figured out it was a villain and victim role-playing thing with one character, which is kind of strange. So anyways, at work, this happened. Dyson handed me a tape, which was under a DVD, holding a DVD and VHS sandwich. He said, "It's from, Frederick? What?" And it was at that moment he popped out of the doorframe saying, "That's right," and quickly went to the other direction. So I took it. At first, I thought the scumbag handed Dyson a snuff tape so he could hand it to me. But I had seen a crap ton of live leak videos back in the 2000s thanks to those neckbeard lowlives with troll face profiles. It's very specific. Also, strangely, I was the only one at work who had a VHS player, so of course a living anus gave it to me. This guy just seems like he's just like mentally like unstable. You're this living anus with his mental issues. What a fucking dick, giving me a VHS tape. Oh, I fucking hate that guy. I got my box cutter just in case he tries anything. Also, strangely, I was the only one at work. Okay, I already read that. He said with a pause, "I'm not entirely sure, man." Then I looked at the coloring lead written message on the label. Blue's Clues exclusive episode. The DVD had a label in Sharpie just for you, Eric. I finally reached my house. I gave the DVD to Dyson and he accepted. So I popped the VHS in. I like old softwares. Nice, calm, relaxing feel that I like. And a piece of paper appeared on screen. It said, "Help Blue find Steve." In the background, a really, really old piano played. Don't know how you can tell the age of the piano, but whatever. I could hear Fred singing to it, out of time, tune, and off beat. Blue appeared on the screen. He woofed, surprisingly well animated, at the camera. Captions appeared below. "Where's Steve? He left earlier. I need to know." His eyes drifted to footsteps on the carpet which were black. "Let's find him," Blue was implied to have said. A salt shaker hopped on Blue's back almost as if he was on top of a horse. Both were wearing Dyson's Woods coat? Did Fred really take the time and effort to put Dyson's wood coat on Blue and the salt shaker? Yes, he did. Anyways, confused, I kept watching. They saw two paths of footprints to take. The first one stopped after it reached 10 steps. Salt Shaker said, "Well, off to the other path." The second one continued, so they went and followed that one. And then a man green screened in appeared in a dirty black hoodie. It was Fred. Fred said, "Hey, little puppy, I know where Steve is." Blue barked. The caption said, "Good," followed by Blue following Fred. During this sequence, I noticed something. One of Blue's footsteps were the red steps Fred had. Wait, red? I thought you said they were black. When were they red? When did you say they were red? Yeah, okay. His eyes drifted to footsteps on the carpet which were black. Where are the red footsteps? Okay, whatever. Who cares? And one of Fred's steps had Blue's paw prints. Fred's footsteps were red, which was a red flag. Jesus fucking Christ. Eventually he stopped at McDonald's. You fucking dick. Are you kidding me? That's actually a plot point? Is that he likes McDonald's? That's a thing? They brought that up? That's even worse than if it were a throwaway line. I was gonna just give him a little bit of shit for saying like, oh, that was probably his way of humanizing the character. But no, that's a plot point. That's a plot point that he likes McDonald's. Fred said to Blue, "I last saw him here," followed by a heavy cough, and so Blue entered. Blue walked in like an old-timey detective. Glasses and... Okay, is this a shitpost? This has got to be a shitpost, right? He barked at a cashier, captions coming up again. "Have you seen this man?" Salt Shaker held up a photo of Steve. The cashier paused. "Yes," and paused again. He ordered a burger, ate it, and left with a hooded man. West. Blue barked and the caption said, "Thank you, local employee." Okay, this is definitely a shit post. They found that Steve's footsteps were leading to a warehouse and some brown footsteps followed. Saltshaker said, "Where could he be?" They opened the door, coming to find that there were 3 other doors. They opened the first one. Nothing. They opened the second one. Again, nothing. But they opened the third door, in the back. I could hear the muffled sound of Freddy the Unstable Man cackling like a Disney villain on steroids. Steve's silhouette was in the corner sitting. Blue ran to it, while Saltshaker said, "Hey, Steve!" And that was when I froze in my seat. Well, there was a gap there. I thought that was the end. For about 10 seconds, distorted screams that sounded like someone put a mic on a wire in hell and recorded it played. Starting quiet and faint, very, very slowly, started to grow louder and louder. Steve's corpse was mangled beyond recognition. Red footsteps were next to what was left of Steve. It flickered blue in corner, then back to red in color. It was censored, but around the black box you could see that Steve's face was almost melted. Red text was at the bottom of the screen, near a realistic blood splash on screen, which read, "It hurts." Everything went completely silent. Fred flashed from behind the doorframe, his eyes white. He uttered, "That's right, Eric," and quickly went the other direction. Blue's face flickered into Fred for a second. Blink and you'll miss it type stuff. It switched to Blue's face. His face showed nothing but abject horror. Saltshaker muttered, "My God." Blue ran off fast as a speeding car. He was barking, but this time captions didn't come up. He was just screaming. The credits started to roll. The sound of a dog whimpering played. Beside it was Saltshaker hyperventilating in fear. The credits just said, "Fred." The tape ejected. My first thought was, what in God's name was that? I knocked on Dyson's door. He said, "Holy ravioli, did you see that?" Yeah, this is a shitpost. This has got to be. There's no fucking way it's not a shitpost. Assuming the same footage was on both, I said yes. I buried mine 9 feet deep, and Dyson kept his. So I went inside and I decided to relax and watch some Wheel of Fortune. After some betting, I noticed something out of my window. Fred was standing by a tree, facing the tree, the back of his head visible. He seemed to be crying. Despite there being a blizzard, he was wearing his work clothes. I saw my boss, Johnson, running with every bit of winter clothing on. He yelled, "Hey Fred, why are you out here?" I opened up my window and yelled back, "I had the same question." He yelled again with even more confusion, "Why are you in your worker's backyard?" I gave Fred some winter clothes and he put them on and left. So, I guess don't watch tapes you employees give you. I don't know. I'm going to watch some Wheel of Fortune. Bye. Update, don't worry, I'm fine, but something happened. Fred tried to drink motor oil and was fired after trying to light the building on fire. What the hell? But that's just one thing. You see, Fred has an account on Facebook. Usual posts, yada yada. But one day he made this one post. It read, "Why did the other me hurt her?" His sister at the time was missing, so this sounded like a cryptic confession. In the same spot, that image of Blue with a look of abject horror, heart-striking, pure expression of terror was used. Later on, he posted something much worse. All he posted was a chain of ha 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 over and over again. Then afterwards, he was posting a similar thing. It was a chain of nothing but, "I admit, and I'm at fault here," which is disturbing, especially considering the other posts. His sister was found in a similar state to Steve's, and it was found via footsteps that it was Fred who found via what? Okay, sure, whatever. They found via footsteps that Fred was the one who did it. like cartoonish footsteps all over the place that somehow proved he was the murderer. Sure, okay. It was later discovered that he had multi-personality disorder. After hearing this, I realized something. He made that VHS as a confession. Everything had happened. Everything that happened was just an artistic imitation of reality. He made that VHS to atone for his crimes. He confessed to us. He confessed to me. He confessed to every single one of us, time after time again. And we didn't even bat an eye once. I really didn't know how to end this off. I'm just gonna watch some Rick and Morty with Dice. Bye! I don't know. Is this a shitpost? Because at times it definitely feels like it's a shitpost and like the person's fucking around. But at other times it feels like the guy's trying to write an actual story. And I can't fucking tell. So I'm still left with a lot of questions about this story. Like, I don't know if this is a joke or not. Because, you know, there's some parts where it seems so obviously like a joke. Like, where he says, oh, he drank motor oil and then he lost his job. Or the fact that they go into a McDonald's and suddenly it's a crime noir. And it's like, it's parts like that where it's like, okay, this person's clearly fucking around. But then other parts where it's like, I think they're trying to be serious. I don't know. I'd lean towards... I don't know. I don't know what the hell I lean towards. I think one thing I gotta point out is, this kind of reminds me of that one creepypasta I read earlier, the Max and Ruby one. The one where it's like a school project and the guy ended up making like a fan episode of Max and Ruby and it was about like vor. That one. And I think this one kind of has a similar problem in that there's not much of a reason as to why the guy made a Blue's Clues episode. Like, why would he be hyper fixated on Blue's Clues other than like we needed a lost episode creepypasta? I feel like there's some connection here at least with the fact that he's like giving clues to a crime, but still it's really fucking cheesy, dude. Like, he's using a Blue's Clues episode that he made to confess to a crime, which is also funny because they specifically say that when he'd go into like you know, like they say, oh, he at some points he'd be like acting like a victim, you know, and all paranoid, and at some points he'd be acting like a kidnapper, and they specifically say he would go around constantly saying, yeah, I kidnapped my sister. And it's like, oh, so he didn't even need to make this. He was already telling them constantly, yes, I kidnapped my sister. And for some reason, no one thought to like, hey, maybe I should look into his sister's missing. Huh. And he's constantly saying that he did. You didn't really need to make a Blue's Clues episode. Whatever. Let's move on to something else. So I was trying to look for a new story to read. And at first I tried to find one from New Images, but that one was someone's first creepypasta, as they said. And it feels kind of weird, like, critiquing something that's like someone's first thing that they just kind of made for funsies. And then I tried looking around and I found another, like, 2 or so stories, and each one of them was like, oh, someone's made a video on that, that one's pretty popular. So I ended up stumbling upon Spongebob becomes a psychopath. And this is another instance of me being drawn to a story, both because of the image and because of the disclaimer. Disclaimer is, warning, Squidward is referred to as multiple names such as Sweowdward, Skidwus, Scumwus, and Skiff. Because I was looking around, I think this is especially funny because according to this website, troll pastas, crappy pastas, fun pasta stories are forbidden as of June 2017. And I'm pretty sure this was made after that. So, my name is Matthew Fanto Ellsberg. My home address is C. Alreen Fuchs Katz Drive, New York. Sponge Boot is my fave show fest. Squidward just word and found it has cooking Krabby Patties, and Squidwards came in and said, SpongeBob, you promised $60 yesterday. SpongeBob repelled, yes, but you didn't get it because no. Then SpongeBob threw the patty at Scumward. Skiffus yelled, SpongeBob, this is the last time you've done this, absolute bitch. You fucking hoe. I hate you, die. Skirmish then hits SpongeBob, and SpongeBob told on him and Mr. Krabs. Mr. Krabs said, I have crabs. SpongeBob fell down on the floor crying and said, wee, I thought we had something. And SpongeBob's eyes turned rad color, and SpongeBob floating in the air and said, fuck you, and everyone died. The Endus and the Scum appeared again, but his head was photoshopped poorly cut of the and it faded in with his picture. Then it ended for no real reason, and Oliver poop up, and then the picture pops up, and then it's go we spelled out John Oliver, now go good. That was, how do you even fucking add anything to that? You can't. You can't. When did this happen? When did this happen? I love this. Oh. Fantastic. That's good. Yeah, it's great. It's great. See, it's Ice Age bootleg tape. Let me look this up. Ice Age bootleg tape. God damn it. God damn it. God damn it. This one's been read. God damn it. Fuck. What the fuck happened? Okay, you know what? I think the comment section is enough of a creepypasta. I don't think people have read Ice Age bootleg. I don't think anyone's read the comment section, so let's do that. Because this is weird. Yes, the spring of drowning quagga, the spring of drowning goldiura, the spring of drowning dragon, the spring of drowning Sergal, a 7 ponds, a magical creature in 1 pond, a Japanese creatures in 2 pond, extinct creatures in 3 pond, unknown creatures in 4 pond, a legendary creatures in 5 pond, a fictional creatures in 6 pond, a species creatures in 7 pond. The spring of drowning creatures in 7 pond like this. Do not curse it if you had transformed into a creatures. Even though it's a stupid director's cut ripoff, I gotta say I laughed pretty good at your ripoff story. Okay, there's no one talking about this. What the fuck is this? What the fuck is this? What does any of this... More replies? There's more? What the fuck? The spring of drowning tanuki dragon Sergal quagga. What is this? We'll never know. Spongebob lies. Is this please? God, fuck. One of the best things on... That means people have read it before. If it's the best on the site, people have read it. Damn. Yeah, we can't read that one. Red fish with bloodshot eyes. Okay, let's try to find something recent. Okay, so I found this story in the recently changed section, and all the other ones I saw in there, all the other stories I saw in the recently changed section were either really popular stories that have been read by like a whole bunch of people, or stories that have been deleted recently. And this one has actually been read by other people. Is it been read by one other person at least? But I'm kind of running out of options here. You gotta understand, I gotta find something to read. So, one person, we can make an exception for that, right? Okay, sure. So this is Funny Mouse bootleg tape. Let's just jump right into it. In 2004, a group of 3 men had performed an urban exploration inside of an abandoned house in Wyoming. The house itself was run down and desolate. The men started exploring and venturing further into the building. They ended up finding a cassette in an old withered box. The cassette was labeled as Mouse Funny, written with a black marker, poorly and almost rushed. Once returning home, the men had put the tape into an old cassette player. Now this is where the tape began. I would assume so. It appeared to be a blurred out Mickey Mouse cartoon, not the type from 2004 or any of the modern cartoons that would have been broadcasted regularly. So it wasn't a modern DVD. He said it was a cassette tape. What the fuck? Yeah, it was a cassette tape. What do you mean it wasn't a modern DVD? It was a fucking cassette tape. Whatever. The image eventually cleared up and the title simply read Mouse. It then faded out and into a less so blurred image of Mickey. A single looping frame of Mickey just standing and staring blankly at the screen with detailed white eyes. Pencil shading and lighting had been clearly applied to the eyes and greater detail scales were present. Mickey stared at the screen as it zoomed into his face, barely yet zooming to his face as he began to smile and his eyes began to widen. The sound of a metal bell ringing began to loop every 6 seconds. Mickey stared and stared and his eyes began to bulge and separate from each other as his mouth curled to his ears and began to open, as the zooming stopped and the bells stopped as well, perfectly in sync with the stopping of the zooming in. As it stopped, it remained still for 3 seconds before the blur began to increase and what almost sounded like faint screaming began to play in the background. It began to zoom, and additionally the sound of metal scraping against a hard metallic floor, the screaming of the metallic sounds as Mickey's face began to twitch rapidly as his smile stayed. His face overtook the screen as the screaming became one man screaming on a loop. A blood-curdling scream of one man, then Mickey ran off the screen. Then there was darkness and silence. Nothing. The tape ejected itself. About a year later, the 4th man who had reportedly collected and analyzed the tape was found dead inside a litter basket outside the same house and was reported covered in his own blood. I mean, it would be more of note if he was covered in someone else's blood, you know? The other 3 men who were asked about the tape, 2 of them had refused to answer when blocked all communication. They seemed to be fidgety and paranoid. Another year later, John Franklin, who was one of the men, had sent in the tape to investigate. He sent the tape in to It's just a dumb, creepy video. Why would you just send it to the police? Usually with these things, it's like, oh, we found something that looks like a video of someone dying. But you just had mouse smiling. There's nothing here that would require calling the cops over. It was deemed an obvious bootleg tape and not anything Disney would have been responsible for. This is a still image taken from a frame of the video. Also, I just find it pretty funny that it took a year for this mouse to apparently kill the person who watched the tape. Compare that to like, The Ring, or, you die in 7 days after watching the tape. You get a whole year. That's quite a bit. That's pretty generous. You gotta be honest. That's quite a big window of time. And even then, only 1 out of 4 of the people died. Okay, so the guy did die near the house where the tape was found. But does that necessarily mean that the tape killed him? He could have gone back and then I don't know, like a crack addict, and the whole some crazy guy squatting in the place just came out and just stabbed him and dumped him in the garbage. That's very likely. They didn't specifically say he was had mouse teeth marks all over him or something like that. They just said he was dead. He could have very easily gone back and then just got stabbed by someone. We don't know. This tape could be completely harmless. It could just be look at it. You can trust that guy. Look at it. Look at that smile. That's a trustworthy guy right there. All right, let's look at the comments. Nice flip-a-clip, OC. Why did that look like Momo? Of course, when he says Momo, he's referring to this character. Should I edit this to get an idea that may work for this certain type of creepypasta, but I don't know if I should or not? I'm gonna go around the wiki today fixing some stories and see if it will work. Okay, I understand. Help wanted. Hello, I'm Lucy Dog and I'm in search for a team to help me make a very important project. If you are willing to help, There are 2 jobs open, writer, story builder, if you're willing to come and apply my profile. What does this have to do with it looking like Momo? My face. Mickey plus Momo? This story is extremely cliche and the MS Paint image did not help. Forget Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. Now there's Roblox Mouse Happy Home in Robloxia House. Momo enters our universe. LOL. Fight, run, item, mercy, all at once. Undertale. You call this a lost episode? That's not scary at all. Dead Bart is more scary, and Dead Bart is not that scary. Make a better lost episode creepypasta. Fuck you, I like Dead Bart. This neutral, but hell is Sith? I have no fucking clue what he's trying to say there. I have no idea. Let's go to let's see. Please. Yoroshiku onegai shimasu. Okay, we're gonna look this up. Right. Teletubbies. Plague. Oh, you fuck. God damn it. Fuck. Look at it. Look at this. Yeah, I can't fucking. Fuck. Shit. Whatever. Return to sender. 0 comments. 0 comments. That's a good sign. Oh, it's Postman Pat. Okay. I've never watched Postman Pat, but you know what? We can read this. It's a story we can read. Showing a bad quality black and white image of Postman Pat and Jessie the cat. Cool, a Postman Pat. I swear to God, wasn't there a creepypasta like this? Hold on, let me check this. I swear to God, now that I'm thinking about it. God damn it! Oh, fuck! Oh, I can't. The king himself has covered this. I can't cover that. Shit! I was looking at this and I thought, there's no comments. This is probably some new shit. And I look, it's Mr. Creepypastas read this out. Never mind. Okay, we'll find something else. Never mind. Seesaw. Teletubbies. Holy fuck, that's long. You know what? I don't care anymore. I'm just gonna read it. I don't care. This has probably been read by every single fucking YouTuber and their grandma. I don't care. I need something to end the video with, so we're just gonna read it. Okay? This is Seesaw. It's about the Teletubbies, okay? Disclaimer, note, this was not written by me. It was made by someone else. I forgot their name and couldn't find them, but enjoy. Okay, whatever. Many people can agree with me. Everyone has experienced a few bad moments in their childhood that they wish they could forget. Unfortunately, it's these things that are so easily burned into people's memories. Have you ever had a time in your life when you would try to remember the good things in the past, only to remember something embarrassing and shameful? Sometimes people go for years without even thinking about anything of it. That is, until they find something which triggers that particular memory they never wish to come back to. And with it comes feelings of nausea and paranoia. That is what happened to me. On this particular day, it was raining. You would walk down the street to see pedestrians taking shelter under bus stops or in big coats holding an umbrella. I myself was holding one, frustrated by countless strong winds blowing it back. I was strolling down the marketplace looking for some cheap groceries. I wanted to get home quickly since the weather wasn't the best. As I was bagging some goods, I turned my head to see a table covered with old stuff. Taking a closer look, I could see that it had boxes with VHS tapes lined up on their sides. Most of them were rather old children's shows, such as Bob the Builder and Thomas and Friends. None of them looked pirated, to be honest. One video case I saw was labeled Teletubbies Banned Episode. I know I'm too old to be interested, but for some strange reason, I had the urge to buy it. I picked up the case to look at it. What I saw made me jump slightly. I saw the image of a bear. As previously mentioned, some things really bring back bad memories almost instantly. As soon as I saw that bear, so many things had gone into my mind. Horrible things. Things I just can't even get myself to say. These thoughts made me really shaky and nauseated. Despite my feelings, I gave the cashier his money and put it in my bag with all the other things. When I looked back up, the cashier just smiled at me. Not a "have a nice day" sort of smile, but more of a "I'm glad you bought it" smile. I didn't smile back. I just walked away, trying to get into my car as I drove home. All I could think about was that bear. I would go on to one thought, then just ended up thinking it off again, each time bringing that sudden feeling of fear. When I got home at about 6 p.m., I put the tape to the side while I sorted my food out. Once I was finished, I knew that the only thing I could do was watch the tape. After setting up my old VHS recorder, I stood and started the tape again. This time I noticed features that I previously gave no attention to. There were no company logos or symbols on the case, and no information on the back. I opened the case to see that the tape had nothing on it, but the word "seesaw" written in black marker. I rushed to put the tape in, hoping to get it all over with. I saw that the tape was almost halfway through, so I rewound it to the beginning. When it was done, I pressed play to see that it was nothing but black. I fast-forwarded the tape until it was at the same place it was before I rewinded it. Strangely, this was right before the images actually appeared on my screen. I grabbed a chair from my kitchen and placed it in front of the television. I sat down and pressed the play button. What was clearly the opening for Teletubbies had begun, with the theme music playing quietly. The music was filled with static noises and a high-frequency buzzing. I noticed that it may have been cut, skipping the sun, baby, and logo. I couldn't help but notice the image had horrible quality, and appeared as if the tape was decades old. The image was shaken, had a layer of static that constantly fuzzed. The color was also really bland and gray. As the Teletubbies ran down the hill, the footage suddenly cut to them staring at the camera. It cut again to a view in an empty field with small hills. The music stopped suddenly. An image of a seesaw flashed on screen with a little boy on each side, moving it up and down. The field then came back into view. The only thing I could hear now was that buzzing. A small figure appeared in the distance of the field. The buzzing noise became louder. The seesaw images flashed on screen again. The buzzing momentarily silences as the echoey voice of an elderly woman could be heard slowly getting louder. The image flashed again. The screen slowly zoomed into the distant object as the buzzing noise came back. The woman's voice slowly echoed. "I'm coming. I'm coming." A high-pitched screech was audible as it slowly zoomed. A bear's face flashed on screen. Things started to get tense. At this point, I was too frightened to turn the volume down. "I'm coming. I'm coming to get you." I looked behind me and quickly looked back. As the screeching became louder, more static could be heard. Random images of children flashed on screen every few seconds as the camera finally zoomed in until the figure filled the screen. "I am the bear. I am coming." The horrific sound of children crying could be heard. The camera began to zoom into the bear's face as the seesaw flashed on screen again. "I'm coming. I'm coming. I'm coming to get you." The image flashed on screen once more. The seesaw had stopped, and the boys were just staring blankly at each other. The camera had finally zoomed into a full view of the bear's face. Its mouth moved up and down as it echoed, "I'm coming to get you, and I will get you." The bear's eyes began to spin around. The image flashed on screen. The seesaw appeared, but with gore and blood on and around it, and was surrounded by what appeared to be human remains. The dead bodies of two young boys appeared out of nowhere and caused the seesaw to slowly move up and down. They were just lying there, their clothes soaked in blood. The sound finally stopped. I sat and stared at this image for a minute before it went black. Needless to say, after that minute had passed, I immediately grabbed the tape out of the machine and threw it in the bin along with the case. That night I couldn't sleep. I couldn't stop thinking about what I saw. I had to frequently check my windows. This couldn't have lasted all night, as when I sat down to try to calm myself, I must have finally fell asleep. The next morning I had work I needed to finish on my laptop. As I was checking my emails, I stared at my desktop background. It was a photo of me and my friends in the field. I saw a small figure on it I don't remember being there before. I found the original image in my files and zoomed in on it. It was the bear. What the fuck? That was good? You are the bad guy, and I'll show you how this justice system deals with bad guys. Why are you everywhere? The bear was insane. Besides, when will there be the bear in this series? This episode may be cursed and deadly, so I have to ask myself, how long will this last? The lion and the bear magical event explains it. Oh, fuck. Oh, fuck. Yeah, I kind of figured that out. This is definitely something that everyone's read. It's because it's a good story. It's just unironically good. I don't know what else to say about it. Okay, so as I said earlier, I'm actually genuinely surprised with how good this story is. I kind of expected it to be a little bit more decent than something like Spongebob becomes a psychopath, obviously, but I think it genuinely did a really good job setting up the atmosphere, and maybe that's just because I'm a sucker for these kind of stories, but I think since I can't really come up with anything funny to say about it, because it's just a pretty good story in my opinion, might as well do the next best thing, and that is try to analyze the story and come up with a theory as to what happened. Because with a lot of the other stories, it's either very obvious what the story was, or it's impossible to come up with a story because it's literally just nonsense, spooky stuff that happens for the sake of it being a spooky story. But I think in this case, there is like a reasoning behind it and an overall plot. And it could be something where I'm grasping at straws, or I could be missing the mark entirely, or it could be something that is very obvious and I am stupid for thinking I am in any way clever for figuring this out. But my theory is that the kids in the tape were the main character's friends. And that video actually was in some way like a snuff film. And the tragic event that, he touches on a few times was that event at the park in which his friends got murdered by someone assumedly wearing a bear costume or something like that. And the thing that confuses me is I'd like to say that the person who sold him the tape was the person in the bear costume. However, they specifically say that the person who is selling the tape was a man. And they say that the person whose voice was in the video was an old lady. And she specifically said, "I am the bear." So we can assume that in that event, the person who killed the friends was an old lady. Or something, I think. So I don't know how that would tie together, but I think that the person who sold the tape was involved. And them being happy that the person bought the tape wasn't just, "Oh, I'm glad you took that spooky tape away from me because it's spooky and it's evil and I don't want it anymore." I think it was more like the person specifically wanted that tape to go to the main character. Because he knew that he wanted him to see it. He wanted him to remember. Or maybe taunt him about "Oh, remember your friends? Remember how they died?" Specifically going out of your way to torment him. And maybe say, "I'm coming for you next." Though I guess the question is, in that story is, who's the bear and who's the person selling? And how old would that lady be in this time period? Is that person, related in some way? It's kind of hard to tell. That's the part where it kind of falls apart, this theory, is seller and bear. Actually, let me double check. Is the person... I'm pretty sure it was voiced in an old lady voice, right? Yeah, woman's voice. So yeah, it's a bear. It looks kind of like a costume. It looks like something that could theoretically be like a costume. Though I don't know. It could be an actual Teletubbies character. I think they did a really good job of building the atmosphere and not necessarily going too far in terms of spooky stuff. They did kind of overindulge with the seesaw surrounded by bloody body parts. But I think the imagery of two dead kids on a seesaw and the seesaw is just kind of moving on its own and they're just sitting there dead, I think that's kind of spooky. I think that's kind of a nice imagery. I think the overall just kind of chaos of it just kind of like weird images, spooky phrases, and then it's over. But you also get enough information out of it to infer a story. And it's not just like SpongeBob with black eyes and then Squidward with his penis out. I don't know. It's not just random spooky stuff. It's like a lot of it has, you can infer things from it. And I think that's one of the important things of this story is you can take things and you can piece things together to make a narrative, but not to a point where you can immediately just figure everything out and be like, oh, okay, whatever. There's like a little bit of mystery there in terms of how some things connect, but I think you can piece it together enough to a point where you can formulate an interesting story in your mind to reason things. And I think when it comes to horror, being able to piece those things together in your mind is really important. Because sometimes it's a little scarier for someone to figure something out themselves than it is for the story to just explain it to them. Because it's like, oh, okay, sure. SpongeBob was haunted by a demon all along. Okay, yeah, whatever. As opposed to like figuring out by like, suddenly the clues click in your head and you're like, oh shit. Oh, that's what happened. I get it. Something like that, as opposed to just telling you, I think they did that really well. But yeah, I'm not really too sure what else to say about this. This video itself was kind of an experiment, trying to figure out, like, is it possible to just go for, like, small time stories and avoid anything that's, like, been touched by anyone, going to all the recent stuff. And I think there's, like, a happy medium that can be found between, like, just reading, like, front page stuff and, like, going to the most recent and just reading whatever. Because, reading the front page stuff, you're just rereading stuff, and that's not fun. Reading this, like, newer stuff, it's a little, sometimes it's a little hard to make content out of something like that, where it's just, like, SpongeBob stabbed someone, penis fell off, we're all dead, the end. And they're also kind of hard to find, surprisingly enough. I think the funny thing is I was hoping there'd be like a random page on here, and there might be, and I could be stupid, but I could not find a random page. And I was hoping like, oh, I could just go here, click random, and then find whatever I want to. But it's like, you gotta like go through recents. There's only a few recent things you can go to. Some of them are like, whatever. So maybe for next episode, I'll still check to make sure they're not like, they haven't been covered by like everyone and their grandma, but I won't be so strict as to be like, oh, this has been read by like 3 people. I can't touch this period. And even then, I think it'll also be nice to just try to find some more sites because, there's only so much you can do on one wiki, and this is more of like a variety hour kind of thing anyways. So at some point I'm going to have to move on. I haven't found another site yet, but one of these days I'm going to have to find one. And I don't know, maybe I'll have to do that for the next video, but I think I've spent like quite a bit of time on this one, so I think I might as well just end it here because it's not going to get any better. So I'll see you in the next one, I guess.